the soldiers' accoutrements. These are things the soldiers carried. So we'll start out with the backpack. That's what this is. The backpack has these numerous straps. These straps here can be hooked to the belt to relieve the weight off the shoulders, like this. They can be crossed over and strapped on the other side, or the soldier can just kind of pull on them, try to pull the weight off of his shoulders. These backpacks aren't terribly comfortable. A lot of soldiers would get rid of them and roll everything up in their blanket. So the backpack looks like this. Here's the blanket on top. And we'll lay it down here on the table and open it up. It has these three straps that holds it closed. There's two sections. It's made out of painted canvas. The paint on the canvas is to waterproof the canvas. So you undo the straps and it opens up into two compartments. One side compartment holds the rubber blanket and shelter hat. The rubber blanket is a piece of canvas that's been covered with Goodyear's vulcanized rubber. It's generally used as a ground cloth. Most of the soldiers were given a shelter half to carry. This is half of what's commonly referred to as a dog tent. So the idea was, two soldiers would get together, they would button their shelter halves together using these buttonholes and buttons you see here along the top, and they would have a tent. The other compartment is to hold other things like spare clothing and personal items. So example would be a spare set of drawers which you wear underneath the pants to keep the wool pants from chafing your legs. A pair of drawers, spare pair of socks, spare shirt, then there'd be room for other things like personal things. Civil War soldiers were great readers, so these dime novels were quite popular. Most soldiers had what's referred to as a housewife. It's a sewing kit. These would be given to the soldiers by their mothers or sisters before they went off to the war. And in the sewing kit there would be things like wool for repairing socks, spare needles, thread, spare scissors, not spare scissors, scissors, and spare shoelaces. Soldiers also might carry newspapers, some Harper's Weekly newspapers. As I mentioned before, soldiers are great readers. Since they spend most of their time in camp, they have lots of time to read. So that concludes the backpack. Soldiers also carried a canteen. Canteen's made out of tin, has a cork stopper, and it's wired to the canteen. Soldiers are also given a haversack. This is what they're given to carry the food in. It's quite often soldiers would attach their tin cup to the outside of the haversack. This was their main cooking vessel. In the haversack, the soldiers' items related to food. There was a tin plate, spoon, fork, a knife of some kind. Pocket knives were very common. Then there'd be the food. A campaign ration, a ration for when they were marching around, consisted of 3 parts. One part was hardtack. Hardtack's a flour cracker, looks like this. They were given 9 or 10 of these for a day's ration. They're very hard. They're sometimes full of worms. The soldiers would generally cook them in some way, and that would drive the worms out. Or as one soldier said, just extra meat in the ration. The other part of the ration was coffee. They're given the coffee and just the beans. They would need to roast and crush the beans themselves. And the third part of the ration would be meat. Commonly salt pork, which is pork that's been placed into a barrel of salt to preserve it, and a half a pound a day was the common ration. The haversack has a liner, a cotton liner that buttons in, and again the haversack's made out of the painted canvas to make it somewhat waterproof. The main items are related to firing of the musket, so we'll talk about them in the next section where we talk about firing the musket.